2025. But again, we can give you the precise numbers because I'm under oath when that exercise, the audit exercise, is completed.
Clearly so, I know you're under oath, but you have to give, I was asking for some estimation because as you sit here, I know you have some idea of whether we've received more in terms of receipts from the gold, minerals, and oil, and all the other things that come in as receipts. And so that's why I
that is so. Our commodity prices have fared well throughout 2025. And if you look at our Monetary Policy Committee press releases, we provided consistent detail. That underscores the reserve buildup that we have quoted in the MPC press releases.
Governor, again, we see that the auditors reports payments for services and work projections. That's on page 21.
Okay.
I want to give you the opportunity to tell the people of Ghana where your mandate lies. Whether Bank of Ghana is supposed to check whether the project has been completed before payment is done, or Bank of Ghana collects details and issues payments as instructed by the Controller and Accountant General.
Madam Chair, as you are aware, the central bank is the banker for government and then also government agencies. We depend on controller. They are in charge of operating those accounts. And in all cases, we adhere to the instructions that are on those accounts. But I have my head of banking department seated right here. If there are specific details, maybe we can look at that, Madam Chair.
Not necessarily specific details, but I just wanted you to put on record your mandate when it comes to payments of projects. Like you said.
Yes, so rightly so.
Yes, I want you to be clear on that.
Yes, it was just like you have your own account with any bank. At the end of the day, you operate the account. The mandate is clear on that. And so controller, in my view, has plays that role. Ours is to ensure that the underlying vouchers are what they are, and instructions, follow what controller has authorized. We have our risk management department that also screens these payments, but the authority, the payment instructions, all that is effected through the controller.
Governor, so if I may, in simple terms, when you are instructed to make payment, are you responsible for the physical verification of the project completion or not?
Well, we are not. We go strictly by the documentation, as I have explained.
I guess we are beating around the bush, specifically for our logo. Money was paid, and nothing had been done. And we want to find out who is to take responsibility for it. Was it? I'm sorry. Mr. Speaker has, Deputy Speaker has come to join us. Governor, to continue, for our logo as an example, monies were paid, nothing was done over there, and there was confusion about who was supposed to have gone to check whether projects were, whether work was done or not. In that case, where do we put the responsibility?
Madam Chair, I believe that borders on issues about value for money. That doesn't sit with us. As I explained, we go by the documentation. We are a banker, for government. And so Controller, Ministry of Finance, those agencies will be able to explain who does the value for money checks. What we do is to go by the underlying documentation, that dictates how the account is operated.
With all due respect, cost of value for money doesn't come in at all. Monies were paid to a contractor, but no work was done. So, controller must have sent the documentation to Bank of Ghana for you to pay. So, in that case, it's controller that we have to go to. Is that the case? Because nothing was done over there.
Controller and any other agency will be able to speak to that, not us.
Governor, that is why from the beginning I gave you the opportunity to establish what Bank of Ghana does, and then it ends there, so that the people of Ghana know that it is the mandate of Bank of Ghana to pay based on instructions received. It is that of the ministry sending the instructions to controller to also make sure that the projects for which they are paying for, the monies that are being dished out to the contractor, is commensurate with the work that the contractor has done. So I just wanted us to clarify this once and for all, because last year it was something else on Public Accounts Committee. I was sitting exactly where you were.
Well, Madam Chair, if this was a loan from Bank of Ghana, certainly we will take over that oversight role. This was a Government of Ghana project. We cannot speak on that.
Now,
and then still on the report. Yes, still on the report, page 25. Governor, what goes into your management and technical service fees?
So, with your permission, Madam Chair, my staff now will answer that before I come in.
Okay, so thank you very much, Madam Chair. So management and technical, it includes salaries of consultants, service of a technical nature. So for example, payments for some of our software, including Reuters, Bloomberg, etc.
And that's I thought it went beyond that, because
okay,
I see $49 million for management and technical services.
Sorry, there are also payments in respect of the technical assistance, presidential Air Force plane, and then other engagements that we have, official speeches, lectures, etc.
Under management and technical services?
Yes, please.
We would want an official breakdown sent to the committee. Yeah,
yes,
because the auditors pointed out that there's been an increase of 18.3%. I'm wondering what is it that is put under the management and technical services. That should warrant an increment of close to $8 million within a year, from the $41.5 million in 2023.
Very well. We'll come back to the committee.
And then, Governor, this has to do with the banks. We've had many issues with unearned salaries that are paid to respect people who haven't earned it, but are paid in error. And then they are supposed to send it back to Controller and Accountant General. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay, and sometimes they don't even want to release these monies. We've had a couple of, is it the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education? You know, they have quite a number of staff, and so sometimes when some of their members move away or leave, for some reason they continue to pay them, validate and then pay them. And so the bank holds, the banks, these commercial banks, holds quite a number of accounts that we want them to pay back to Controller and Accountant General. And sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. And since you are the regulator, we want to ask of you to support Public Accounts Committee to make sure that monies that are paid in error to staff that have left government offices or government employment should be repatriated back to the Controller and Accountant General without problems, challenges, or issues when proof is given to the bank. So this is just by way of asking you to. And then finally, you know, on the table, there's a table 26. With various commercial bank dealers and their schedule of earnings.
That long one.
For some of the banks, their receipts are very low, but when you look at the quantum of transfer that they do in a year, I don't know how they are able to raise those huge amounts of money to transfer. I just want you to help me here. How you supervise them, one, on the receipts that come in, and how they are able to transfer these huge quantum of money compared to the receipts that come in. Is it that Bank of Ghana feeds them with those huge differences in terms of forex, and so they are able to pay, or I mean, how is it done?
So we have the interbank foreign exchange market, and therefore, if a bank has a demand from a client for some transfers to be made, and remember, those transfers are not just done, it has to be supported by relevant documentation. So the bank can do that. We regulate them, yes. When we go on site, we cross-check those documents. They send us returns as well. But I believe your question goes to the heart of something we observed when we came in. When we came in last year, we decided to meet the banks, and we met all the CEOs. And we made it clear to them that we wanted them to be more actively involved in promoting exports from Ghana, especially banks coming from some of our neighboring countries. Madam Chair, I can report that each of the banks submitted something to me showing what they are doing currently and what they can do to promote Ghana's exports, and we are monitoring that. So going forward, we'll ensure that the banks are not just doing banking, but they are serving as part of our eyes out there. If, for example, a bank is from South Africa, certainly they will understand the South African market better than anyone else, and therefore should be able to help a Ghanaian firm that wants to go into the South African market. And that is exactly what we are nudging them to do. And so far, so good. We are happy with the submissions they've sent to us. We'll continue to work with the banks. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Governor, I want to take you to page 12 of the report. If you were to look at page 12, you realize that payments for services and works in the 2024 amounted to some 1,771.96 million. And this represents an increase of about 48.59%. Clearly, what this tells us is that service and works is now the second largest forex outflow category after the energy and the non-energy forex sales. Our concern is that a 48.6% increase in 1 year is materially significant. And unlike debt service or on imports, services and work is largely discretionary. So are you able to tell this committee why that sharp increment of about 48%, and if indeed you reported this to Parliament? Thank you.
Honorable Member, can you kindly just go over it again? We are trying to locate.
Yes, so go
line.
to page 12. So on page 12, yes, I'm on payments of foreign exchange for the year ended, and on the transaction type, I'm looking at payments for services and works. Table 8. Yes, and my concerns are that services and works payments rose by some 48.6% in 1 year. And I want to find out from you what policy decision justified this increase.
Again, we are happy to come back to the committee with the details. The details will explain that much better. Madam Chair. We can come back with the components of that line, and that can explain it better.
Well, but so these are reports that are captured by the Auditor-General, and I'm sure, I mean, yes, you provided the details for this, and so coming back.
Okay, Madam Chair, fortunately we already have the breakdowns under table 20. So with your permission, I want to again ask the desk officer to provide some clarity on that. Table 20 provides those sub-details, so we can even take it now. Now you can come in now.
Okay, so Madam Chair, so as table 20 shows, payments for services and works comprises a number of other payments, including manpower training, embassy payments, progress payments to contractors, etc. So in terms of those details, and then of course sundries, that captures all the others, including medical payments and other smaller payments. Madam Chair, I think when you look at the table, you can also see that the bulk of the increase is coming from the non-surrendered payment line. And these are payments that are made from FX accounts of government. So any payments that they have FX for which they want to make the payment from those accounts is where those go from.
See, while I appreciate that table 20 gives a certain breakdown of the services and works for the year 2024. I find them weakly defined. I mean, and it looks like it's an avenue where BOG is using to conceal a lot of inefficiencies or quasi-fiscal activities. The explanation is not there. Probably maybe the auditors may want to come in, but for instance, manpower training and development, 40 million. What goes into it? Oh, yes, $40 million. I don't know. I don't know if you have an explanation, but it's a concern. And
no, Madam Chair, the manpower training and development even declined. If I'm looking at that table, based on your question, I'll be looking at the last two rows, the sundry payments and the non-surrendered payments. Madam Chair, what I'm requesting is that we provide details of those. I'm sure that will answer your question, because that is where you have the significant increase. We can bring that back to the committee as early as possible. I believe it will answer your question. But, Madam Chair, let me put it on record, we do not conceal anything, far from that.
We look forward to that. I also want to find out from BOG that if you look at the IMF's structural benchmarks or the performance criteria as set out in the as part of the responsibility of the bank, what progress have you made since January 2025? And where do implementation risks remain? I mean, for us as a bank.
Well, as you know, the structural benchmarks, there are aspects that relate to Bank of Ghana, and then also there are other aspects that relate to GRA, you know, and the other agencies. What I can confirm under oath is that we are up to date with the structural benchmarks that relate to us. At the end of the most recent review, there were no questions, there were no queries on that at all. So we are fine as far as the structural benchmarks are concerned, but the Ministry of Finance, GRA, Controller, they may be able to provide specific detail as to where they are. We are unable to do that for them.
Yes, so for instance, there's a key concern, and that has to do with the heavy use of the gold-based instruments, the gold for oil, the gold for reserves, gold for foreign cash, which amounted to some 3.9 billion in 2024 alone. And this is captured in pages 16 and 17 of the report. These operations substitute for direct fiscal financing, and it blurs IMF ceilings in practice. Do you agree with me on this subject?
These are quasi-fiscal activities, certainly. And you need to look at when it started. It began from 2021. We have the data to provide to the committee if you want. So yes, it is a quasi-fiscal activity. At the end of the day, government has to make provision for that. But as I mentioned recently at the New Year School, this DGPP was introduced to address specific, issues. Since then, we have had to make some refinements. We have had to cancel certain aspects. And currently we are left with the G4R, which is serving its purpose. We are in talks with government.
Governor, please, the G4R, we all know gold for oil, gold for the oil, but because you are speaking to the whole of Ghana, I would want you to just not use the GM, just say the gold board, so that the acronym, so that people can really appreciate.
Yes, so the gold for oil, or the G4O, since May of last year, we had to shut that down. An external audit is underway currently, and that entire program is being audited. When the audit is complete, we are happy to share audit findings with you. Then the G4R as well. There's an external audit that the Bank of Ghana board has authorized. The goal for reserves, that is the G4R. There also there's an external audit that's been authorized by the Bank of Ghana board, both from when it started until the end of 2024, thereabout, and then also how it operated during 2025. So these audit reports, when ready, we are happy to discuss with your committee. But I must say that these are programs that have, or more or less were introduced for to address specific national challenges. And we believe that going forward, what we have to do is to reform them, to reduce the cost further, to treat them as quasi-fiscal interventions, and that should support our reserves build-up going forward. Thank you.
Governor, so based on this question, I just want to find out what is the BOG's reserve asset position now as we speak, based on the various interventions that have come into play in the course of the year. Can you share with us? In 2024, per the report, it says the asset position was $8.6 billion US. So if you can share with us that.
Very well. Again, with your permission, I want to ask Na, who works on this directly, to provide the data.
Yes, so thank you very much again, Madam Chair. So with regards to the reserves, as at December 2025, end December 25, our reserves position stood at $13.829 billion. Thank you very much.
So, and Governor, you indicated that at the New Year school, there were some comments that were made with respect to the Gold for Oil program, which indicated some losses, especially some loss making for the Gold for Oil program. Indeed, if you look at the gold inflows, we are looking at some $3.96 billion, which is reported in the report, pages 16 to 17. Are you able to tell us how much of this relates to specifically to gold for oil, and which losses have been incurred based on your earlier assertion?
Madam Chair, I have some data here I can provide on the net losses for the gold for oil and also net losses for the gold for reserves. In 2022, the net losses for the gold for oil was about 74.44 million Ghana cedis. We did not have a net loss for the gold for reserves in 2022. Then in 2023, the net loss for the gold for oil was 317.69 million in 2023. On the other hand, the net loss for the gold for reserves, the losses in 2023 was 1,054.84 Ghana cedis. A little over 1 billion was the net loss for the gold for reserves in 2023. Then in 2024, the net loss for the gold for oil was 1.8 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. On the other hand, the net loss for the gold for reserves in 2024 was 3.8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, for 2025, and as we have indicated, this data is under audit, and we will want to wait until the audit is over. We will publish our financials by March this year. When we publish it, the data for 2025 will be provided in those financials. So as I've mentioned, it's not a question about losses then and now. It is that these schemes were introduced to address a specific national problem. What to do going forward is how to reform it, how to make it more efficient. A number of things have been done by us. If we have time, I could run you through them by way of reforming it. I have all the details here I can provide to your committee to read for yourselves. But going forward, our appeal is to move in a unified manner. We want everyone to get on board, to reform this better, and to sharpen its efficiency so that it supports, economic stabilization, it supports our reserves build-up going forward. At the Bank of Ghana, we have started. This week, our board is having a joint meeting with the board of the Gold Board for a start. Beyond that, we are going to be meeting with other stakeholders, and we will be happy for experts in Parliament to join us. We believe that it can be made a win-win. A friend of mine made a comment that I want to share with the committee on this. He said, if this issue doesn't unite us as a country, then he doesn't know what other issue will unite us. The losses are not new. They were there before 2025. And so rather than apportion blame, let's get to the table. Let's see what to do further. We did a bit last year to reduce some of the charges. What more can we do and sustain it? Other than that, going back to leave the space for the smugglers, going back to leave the space for others. And if you look at how much we've lost as a country by way of leakages over all the years, it is mind-blowing. So our appeal is that we work together, Madam Chair, going forward to reform the space. It will help us as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor, for our space that you have used to tell of what you're doing in that with the Gold Board or the Gold for Reserve program. But Governor, I want to find out from you. You mentioned some losses that had been incurred for the Gold for Oil program and the Gold for Reserve program as well. And then in 2024, you mentioned that you had incurred a loss of 1.8 billion for the Gold for Oil program. So based on that, the board advised you to end the Gold for Oil program. In that same vein, you're telling us that there was a 3.8 billion Ghana cedis loss for the Gold for Reserve program. Why did the board not advise you to also bring to an end the Gold for Reserve program? Because when you compare the losses, this is 3.8 billion, and that is more, I can say, almost twice that of the Gold for Oil program. In that same vein, I'm just asking, why did the board not advise that you also cancel this?
So the first probably reference is to observe that since we canceled the Gold for Oil in May last year, we haven't seen a build-up of queues at the pumps. Because one of the objectives for the Gold for Oil was to support that. And so we believe that the cancellation was worth it. There were quite too many issues under the Gold for Oil that we needed to unearth. And therefore, the board authorized an external audit. We got PPA approval for the audit just about 2 months ago. And so that exercise is underway. In the case of the Gold for Reserves, as the name suggests, the objective was to help us build reserves. Now, based on the data that NA has provided so far, the evidence is clear that it is not a question of shutting it down, but it's the question of enhancing its efficiency, looking at inefficiencies that you have to take out. And that is why we went after Gold Board. I also have a table here I can give to you. You see the reductions that we have brought to bear. Madam Chair, it will interest you to know, for example, that until last year, especially the exports of the small-scale gold sector, we were just lucky nothing happened before 2025. Because there was no insurance component after those consignments land at the destination country. And we had to insist that we needed to protect Ghana, even for that 5% that had to be paid. And so currently, everything is paid before the consignment is lifted. Otherwise, there has to be an insurance guarantee. So going forward, let's look at these aspects that we can fix in the interest of the country. And it calls for a unified approach. The external auditors have already been authorized, as I mentioned, by the Bank of Ghana board. The goal for all is being audited. The goal for reserves will also be audited. When that exercise is over, we are happy to sit with you to look at where there were infractions or not and what to do with it. But the best thing now that will be in the national interest is to look again at the trading model and to, for example, decide, should the Ministry of Finance make a budgetary allocation to take care of the costs, given that this is supporting our reserves build-up? Those are the type of questions we need to agree on.
Governor, as for those questions, they've already been answered. Ministry of Finance allocated $217 million for gold board operations in the 2025 budget. So as for those questions, they've already been answered.
Sorry
it is just that when you look in the budget from January to September 2025, nothing was given to them. So that allocation was already in the budget, but nothing was given to them. Then Ministry of Finance comes to tell us in the budget that for the end year projection, that's about 4.5 billion Ghana cedis, they are going to utilize it. So if you say that we should now go and find out whether Ministry of Finance should fund it or not, that was already made in the 2025 budget, which Ministry of Finance from January to September did not give a dime to Gold Board. So,
if I can explain,
yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Governor.
So you need to differentiate between two things.
Yeah.
There's the trading amount, and then there's also something to take care of the inherent costs.
But Governor, once Ministry of Finance, one Ministry of Finance gives you the allocation, it is within that framework. You will have to use it per the Public Financial Management Act, and then reports. So it is up to you. But once that allocation has been made in the budget, whether it is for this or that, provided you are using it per the Public Financial Management Act, you don't have a problem. And so that was already in there. $217 million. Ministry of Finance from January to September did not pay a dime according to the budget that was submitted to us in November 2025. And the Ministry of Finance says, from September to year end, I am going to utilize the 4.5 billion. That means the 270 has been translated into Ghana cedis, and they are going to utilize the 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. I cannot ask you whether it's been used or not because you don't run the Ministry of Finance budget. But maybe in the mid-year, we will know or we will see, or we can come by way of questions to the Minister for Finance. So that conversation has already been had, and it was in the 2025 budget that Ministry of Finance has allocated $217 million to them, and it was up to them to utilize the money per the Public Financial Management Act, and they wouldn't have any problem at all.
Madam Chair,
but
I'm trying to explain one thing. There are inherent costs in the trading model. That inherent cost is currently being borne by the Bank of Ghana, not just in 2025, but since the program started. The losses that were incurred on the gold for oil in 2024, it was borne by the Bank of Ghana in 2024. The losses that were incurred in 2024 under the gold for reserves was borne by the Bank of Ghana. And so what I'm saying is that because of the cost involved, it's not enough to just allocate X amount for the gold trade. You have to allocate something to say if there are costs incurred, government will absorb it to this amount. And then that way, you free the financials of the Bank of Ghana. Madam Chair, and I'm saying this because the Bank of Ghana, due to what has happened since 2022, remember, someone says we are an insolvent central bank. We already have our own issues. We are actually operating at very, I want to use my words carefully. So we are not in a position to shoulder those costs going forward. As we speak, we are having a conversation with the minister to see if they can reimburse us, even for those costs that were passed on to Bank of Ghana since 2024. So going forward, the key thing, or the key question is, who takes charge of the costs incurred in that exercise? And if Government of Ghana decides to budget for those, because it's a quasi-fiscal activity, and then if we have some further reductions in other aspects of the cost, then we can operate this model going forward. And so maybe you can join us, you can be our advocate to government to ensure that going forward the costs are well budgeted for. And I tell you, we can operate this model efficiently.
Governor, respectfully, previously there was no allocation in the budget for these exercises. But come 2025, there was an allocation for such activities. And when you translate about 4.5 billion, how much of the loss have you made so far? Whether then we can look at it and see whether the 4.5 can cover it or not, because per what I know, government budgeted for it with an amount of $270 million in the budget.
So yes, it was in the budget, but the actual cash, got provided in December at the end of the year. So in between, the trade had to be sustained. And hence, that was where Bank of Ghana had to stand in, just as we stood in the earlier years. But our concern is the costs that are involved, especially for 2025, which was mainly because the volumes have increased. Now, the volumes increasing, that in itself is a good thing. What it means is that we are winning against the smugglers. Formerly, all that quantum, the additional quantum, if you take it over 2024 volumes, all that quantum was probably being smuggled. And the proceeds were not coming back into the country.
As for the quantum, if we say we're going to talk about it now, it's something else altogether, because a lot of Ghanaians believe that the sharp increase in the quantum of gold is commensurate with the increase in the activities of Galamsey. So let's not talk about the quantum. I'm only talking about the efficiency of the program and the transparency of it as well. Finally, I want to find out from you that 3.8 billion loss that you mentioned, where can I find it in your financial statements for 2024?
Madam Chair.
Adam, respectfully, you can't do that.
Some of record. It's important for us to, especially when.
Governor, can you please show me where I can find the 3.8 billion loss in your financial statements?
Madam Chair, we will provide that to the committee.
No, because I have seen the 1.8 billion in your financial statement. I have seen the 1.8 billion stated in your financial statement, but I haven't seen the 3.8. So, respectfully, if you can show me exactly where the 3.8 billion Ghana cedis loss has been located.
We will provide that, Madam Chair, respectfully. We will come back to the committee.
Governor, as for your banks, this is for 2024. I'm talking about 2024. It's on the website, but I can't find the loss of 3.8 billion Ghana cedis.
If it is, this is 2024. So you wouldn't find it.
3.8 you said was in, I have seen the 1.8 stated in your financial statement.
Right.
For the gold for oil program.
But that might be for the 2023.
No, it's for 2024. Your 2024 financial statement is on your website.
Yes.
So I went there and then I checked. I saw the 1.8 billion loss in the, I saw the 1.8 billion loss in the financial statement, but I'm yet to see the 3.8 billion that you mentioned here in the financial statement.
Yes, so Madam Chair, can we come back? Madam Chair, I've promised we will come back to provide that clarity. Yes.
Mr. Chair, yes, I want to, this is a issue of records, so I want to clarify some issue and put the record straight. I mean, in reserve at the Bank of Ghana in terms of gold by good initiative by the government doesn't commensurate with the increase in galamsey activity. Gold volumes, the trade, doesn't commensurate with the increasing in terms of galamsey activity, because the government is fighting galamsey and galamsey is going down. It is the good initiative to block the loopholes that is leading to the volume that we are talking about. So let's say the record straight.
I think that it's important that we all acknowledge the fact that nobody has made any assertion to the fact that the volumes are as a result of galamsey. The governor was moving into that realm. Please listen, please. It was moving there. Then Madam said that let us not get there. Let's not get there. And so please, nobody has made such assertion, and I think it's important that we put on record. But
Governor, you were moving there, and I said respectfully, let's not go there, because people will make, that was what I said, people, citizens, it is believed, citizens will make that assertion. But I am interested in the efficiency of the program you are running. That was exactly what I said. Ranking, please, I haven't finished. That was exactly what I said. And so I'm going to go on with...
Madam Chair, we have a policy on responsible mining practices. And so we are assuming that these transactions are in line with our policy on responsible mining practices. And that is why I mentioned the scaling up in the volumes. If there's evidence otherwise, I'm sorry, the relevant agencies will be able to provide. Thank you.
I'm happy with that response, Governor. Let me move on. Governor, as part of your monetary policy transmissions and credit conditions, inflation currently is around 5.4%. But Governor, what is your target inflation rate? Is it 6 or 8 plus or minus 2, please?
Well, we have a medium-term target, which hasn't changed, of 8 plus or minus 2%. That remains our medium-term target as at now. We haven't changed it at all.
So clearly, you can see that you have done a lot in that space. And inflation now is below your target, plus or minus 2, the 8 plus or minus 2. But then, businesses are seeing a high rise in borrowing costs because rates concerning that hasn't really come down. I know sometimes when there's disinflation, it comes with high borrowing costs. But then, what can you do in that area in terms of your monetary policy transmission, making sure that we see some drop in credit conditions to ease businesses and households when it comes to loans?
Madam Chair, on the contrary, the data suggests otherwise. Credit conditions are easing. As at our last MPC meeting, end of November, it was reported that average lending rates had declined to 22.2% compared to 30.5% a year earlier. So on the contrary, things are actually getting better. Lending rates are on the decline. The GRR, the Ghana reference rate, has come down sharply. And it's now around 15% or thereabout. So, Madam Chair, we are on the bend. The lending activity by the banks is following the general stabilization, the general decline in other interest rates. We hope to see more of this as we go on. Now, talking about that, there are channels through which these monetary policy impulses get transmitted. For example, the exchange rate is one channel. It's quite a strong one in Ghana. The pass-through is quite rapid. Then you have the lending channel, you have the interest rate channel, and also the expectations channel. We believe that all these channels are working in unison, and that's why we are seeing the progress that we are making. Madam Chair, I made the point earlier also that we've met the banks. So not only are we using our interest rates as our traditional tools, we are engaging them to also support the real sector, the export activities, discovering new markets, helping to hold the hand of a Ghanaian businessman to discover opportunities out there. We believe that especially the banks that are from other countries, South Africa, Nigeria, and what have you, will be better placed, to help in this regard. So we'll continue to push hard on those fronts, in addition to, the traditional monetary policy making that we are doing. We are supporting government to a great extent. As you are aware, Madam Chair, the level of coordination with the Minister of Finance has been stepped up currently. The EPCC meetings are now held regularly, and we talk with the minister about twice every month. We hold a breakfast meeting, we lay out our concerns, we meet him halfway, we agree on how we're going to address this issue. And so, Madam Chair, we are on the bend. We believe that the stability we've seen in the past 1 year is here to stay. And on this note, I think we should thank Parliament for the support that we also enjoyed last year. We have had to pass a number of critical legislations, and I think we must commend you for that support. What we have done through those legislations is that some of the things that happened in 2022 will not happen anymore. The huge liquidity injection that took place those days will not happen easily anymore. If I have to sanction any of those activities, I would first have to approach Parliament, or the Minister of Finance will have to approach Parliament. We have strengthened the oversight function of Parliament going forward, and that strengthens the framework going forward. So I thought I should put that on record, our commendation for the support of Parliament. We will be coming back with some more legislative reforms, and we are sure you'll be there to support us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Governor, but I still am a bit concerned about the difference between the policy rates and the inflation of 5.4%. It's quite huge. So whatever it is that you are doing now that you have even gone below your target, maybe you need to ease those monetary policy operations in that area so that things can balance a bit. That's all I'm saying. So we support our household and businesses when it comes to the cost of borrowing, because now you have what you want, and you have even gone below what you wanted. 8 plus or minus 2, and it's 5.4. So maybe you should think of easing that a bit. Well, the committee here will gladly always support you, because whatever you do, we know affects the economy at large, and we are representatives of the people. And so if we have to support you to make sure that you ease the burden of the representatives of the people, the ranking members and myself are happy, including Parliament, to support you to make that happen. But we'll be very grateful if you can ease the operations a bit, because you've hit your targets already, and then you can look into other things. Finally, you mentioned the forex exchange market management. Can you tell us how much liquidity you have pumped into the market in terms of forex, and then in terms of CDs as well for 2025?
Madam Chair, well, I have my head of financial markets here. I would ask him to come in. But before he does so, Madam Chair, you know, our foreign exchange management framework is based on the managed floating regime. Now, that framework hasn't changed. It is what has been in place for years now. We have the same thing in place. However, during last year, we made some changes on the operational side to strengthen the framework. We published a guideline to the public explaining that framework. I'm sure you may have seen the framework, but if Madam Chair wants, I have my head of financial markets here. I also have a copy of that press release. I could read to the committee if you permit me to do so. But let me ask my head of financial markets to make a few comments before I do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My name is Financial Market. Madam Chair, I will indicate that yes, this year, given the fact that we've been able to significantly improve our reserves level and the report we've had in the financial, in the foreign exchange operations, our three core function is to put up reserves and then to ensure that we have sufficient reserves to support when we have significant volatility in the FX market, as well as then being able to intermediate in the market in a neutral way in order not to have impact on the volatility and its spread onto the macroeconomy. So relative to last year, we've had significant intermediation process, and that is what we have observed in terms of the stability and the appreciation we have observed.
How much does the significant interventions translate into? That is what I know there's been significant interventions. How much does it translate to respectively?
In terms of our support for the market this year,
yes.
I would say overall it's be close to about 10 billion.
10 billion USD or Ghana cedis? $10
billion US dollars on the FS market.
And then on the Ghana cedi?
That should be, remember, supporting the market will be equivalent to withdrawal of seeds. So that component will be, if we take an average rate of about 10.5 and multiply by the 10 billion, that should give somewhere around maybe 15 billion in terms of withdrawal of seed liquidity. That is what we have done this year.
But Madam Chair, respectfully, I think we have to correct the impression that we pumped 10 billion into the market. No. The word we use now is intermediation. The 10 billion he's mentioning consists of several things. The payments to IPPs. Remember, IPPs were going to shut down. All the money we paid them is part of it. Bondholders who wanted to take out their monies. All the monies we paid to them is part of this. So it is not the intervention, as you call it. We emphasized more on intermediating all these flows, at the same time building reserves. And I thought I should put that into context before he goes on.
Mr. Chairman. Chair.
Yes, sir. Madam Chair, yes. So just like Governor mentioned, the support is basically to the various sectors of the economy. And we have various breakdowns in terms of what goes to manufacturing, what goes to commerce and finance, what goes to support the energy sector and all that. So the amount involved is the overall support provided to the various sectors of the economy for the year.
Yes, so Governor, I have a data with me which talks about 39.4 tons of gold previously lost to smuggling in terms of has been formalized at the sector that actually leads to the volume S30. So I would like to find out from you, is this data correct?
Madam Chair, what we know is that there's been a difference between what was being aggregated, for example, in 2024 and what was done in 2025. As to the figure you are mentioning, I'm not sure where it's coming from. The source will be, better able to speak for themselves. What we are certain about is that there's been a significant increase in the aggregation. And we emphasize responsible mining practices. We don't have any evidence to, otherwise at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, Governor, I've been listening to you attentively. Is there anything else you want to tell this committee before we let you go, please?
Madam Chair, I believe I've said it all already. I was going to emphasize the fact that the domestic gold purchase program is something that has been in place since 2021. We have had to reform certain aspects. We have had to tweak other aspects. There's an internal audit that is on the way. It is not an internal exercise. This is an external audit firms, one of the biggest 4 audit firms. They are looking at those operations. Our appeal is that we wait until those exercises are ready, the audit reports are ready, and we'll all be guided by that. But as a central bank, based on what we saw during last year, and the contribution of the reserve to the reserves build-up and the general stabilization of the economy, we believe that the optimal step currently, the optimal way to go currently, is to look at how we can address those costs and who will bear those costs going forward. That way we can sustain the progress that we have made. That way we can all continue to buy cement lower than before. I am quite happy when I hear Ghanaians draw our attention to some of the price declines that we are seeing. It is real. And we believe that over time, other prices will also, follow suit. What we ask for now is please join us so that we reform this framework for the better of Ghanaians. Thank you.
Mr. Governor, while joining you, in fact, I like how you simplify issues from your end and all of that. It's so brilliant. But however, so do you accept as a bank that your engagement in these quasi-fiscal activities are contrary to the IMF commitments? And have you informed the IMF on this, these losses?
Well, in the first place, the Bank of Ghana law is the law that guides our operations. It mandates us to do what we are doing. The Bank of Ghana board, the board that was in place in 2021, I believe was fully aware. They approved this. Secondly, the IMF has not objected to our involvement. Their point is that the costs, the inherent costs, cannot continue to be borne by the central bank alone. And that is the IMF's position, which we agree with. That's why we are engaging government. We are engaging other, government agencies who also have to, burden share. And we are asking that Parliament support us in this regard. We must do whatever it takes to contain the costs. We must do whatever it takes to burden share in terms of the costs. And then we must do whatever it takes to sustain this program going forward. Because it will help us. It will anchor the progress that we have made. And it will sustain the gains going forward. We believe that is in the interest of Ghanaians. Thank you.
Well, I brought in the IMF because you know that under the IMF Extended Credit Facility Program, the bank is bound by some clear structural commitments. And in the commitment, you must not finance government, either directly through overdrafts or indirectly through loss making. And I bring in this because of the losses that we have made with respect to the Gold Board and the Good for Oil program. And that's what I needed, that commitment from you. I realize that you are trying to solve the problem and all of that, but the bank cannot continue to incur that cost. You cannot carry that burden. So something ought to be done about it. And that is what, of course, the fact, it needs all of us. And that is why, as a parliamentarian sitting on this committee, I must ask you the questions And based on your answer that you give us, we all can find solutions to it. We have to make laws. If we have to make laws to ensure that these things do not occur or appear in our books, then we do that. Finding solutions is not the reserve of him alone. I mean, I have a responsibility and we all have responsibilities. Thank you.
Governor, I must say that I'm impressed with the kind of cooperation you have with the Ministry of Finance. And I want to urge you to work together and to make sure that you are all on the same page. And this, I know, will go a long way to help fast-track things for our economy and the people of Ghana. So I must commend you for that good relationship that you have with the Minister for Finance and now working together to make sure you achieve the policies for which you have set out for yourself. On this note, I want to find out, so is the bank policy solvent?
Madam Chair, as at the end of 2024, we were policy solvent. The 2025 financials are yet to be finalized, and when it's finalized, we will make you aware. What we ask for is some of these areas where we need some burden sharing. It will help us. We believe that you support us in that regard. Madam Chair, let me also thank you for your support, as I said earlier, and to also emphasize that our doors are always open. If any member of parliament wants clarity on any issue, please just send me a message or write a letter to us. The other day, I heard from one very honorable member making some statements that were rather unfortunate. He said had approached or had called some audit firms to falsify accounts and all that. I believe that's not the way we can go. What he was referring to had to do with a special assignment which had to do with the accounting treatment of monetary gold. Now, our information is that the accounting standards do not provide clarity on that. And so you have to be guided by best practices. Now,
respectfully, none of us here
that
said
is so.
that. And
that
the
is
person
so.
who said that, we don't know. Presumed to have said that we don't know. So respectfully, we would ask that we end
Madam Chair, but with your respectfully,
yes.
I just want to make an appeal.
But I know that you said
the issues about the central bank are quite very
with
sensitive ones. If there's anything anyone does not understand, just let us know. We can have a breakfast meeting, and our technical staff will be there to provide all the answers. Thank you very much.
Governor, thank you for coming, and you are discharged.